welcome to this bit where we talk about what's happened in Coronation Street this week. You ready to talk
This
about
isn't acting,
it?
everybody. She's on her 10th cider of the night.
You're not going to be talking about what happened on the street?
Did you enjoy Joel's drunk acting this evening, darling?
Yes, because it was all an act.
It was fake.
Just like my act.
I found this week's Coronation Street kind of filled with things that I didn't expect that I would like and maybe think I shouldn't like, but I kind of did. Joel today, I have been down on him and there's just the story in general in the past couple of weeks or months.
I drank a bunch of Coke.
She's just on the Coke this evening.
Just on the Coke.
Just on the drink of Coke. But although I wasn't a huge fan of him going and intimidating Roy and holding him hostage.
I'm sick and tired of people intimidating Roy.
I know. He's just, well, I guess he's such a easily intimidated, isn't he? Such a pushover.
He's a target, isn't he?
He is.
Because he's so universally beloved.
Yeah. No, I didn't enjoy that bit so much, but I was kind of excited to see what he was getting up to because he's plotting something.
He's up to something.
But I'm not quite sure what. And that final scene on tonight's episode where he's leaving the answer phone message for Dee Dee, and it's made me very excited to see what goes on Monday, particularly because of all the nighttime scenes that we had. Love a good nighttime scene on Corrie. Love a morning scene. Love a dark nighttime scene. And, you know, the Platt's garden, Max and Lauren thinking that he was there, Jenny leaving the back door of the Rovers open. It could all turn to nothing, but it was left feeling like Monday's episode is going to start off with some kind of intruder-related incident.
I hope it does start off with a continuation of today's episode, because we very, very rarely these days get cliffhangers. And I'm pretty sure that, was it during the pandemic that we had loads of cliffhangers?
I don't know. We went through a period, didn't we, where for a while episodes ended with that, what's going to happen next? But Corrie generally tends to end with just a character going, what will I do now?
Well, yeah, or like, this is bad.
Yeah, I don't think we're ever going to make it through this.
I'm sad.
Yeah, but something's going to happen and you'll just have to... I mean, that to me sounds like that's what a cliffhanger should be.
Well, that's what a cliffhanger is.
Come back next time. But I think sometimes, you know...
Corrie's like... Corrie, the thing is on a Friday, Corrie often will end like... Go on then. Don't bother watching the rest of it. Just assume it all works out if you want to. You could if you wanted to. I don't care. Like, whatever. Who knows if Bethany will live or die? You don't obviously care, do you? If you do care, you have to come back on Monday. But whatever. You know what I mean? It just feels really defeatist. Like, come on, give me a reason to tune back in again.
Yeah, and I was definitely teased at the end of tonight's episode.
Coronation Street should ever be above thinking, we're too good to do a cliffhanger, or cliffhangers are too cheap. We can't do a cliffhanger. You're a soap. You do so many other things that are really cheesy and a bit naff, like Joel's just literally standing next to a wall or a lamppost as Dee Dee's looking for him and she somehow doesn't see him. People walking in on conversations going, oh no, but I hope you didn't overhear what I just said. You know what I mean? Like, if you're going to have all these other things, have cliffhangers as well, because they actually are engaging and interesting, and I find them exciting.
I don't always like them when, the forced advert break cliffhangers.
Those are naff. And I don't like the instantly resolved ones, like that every single bloody episode of Doctor Who, it felt like, was like, oh no, an alien! I'll just use my sonic screwdriver that has a special...
Did you pick up anything with the...
No, I've never mentioned before, but it will help me in this situation.
Did you pick up anything with the Rovers? Are we meant to...
No, that felt weird. I was like...
because what were they saying, that Kit's... Got to leave the lock off. Kit's not back home yet, so I wonder,
leave the latch on.
Is Kit gonna have a run in with Joel? Or...
I've never had a door like this. I don't understand what you're talking about when you say leave the latch on. Surely it locks or it doesn't lock.
I don't
what
know,
are you doing? Give him the key.
So that was all quite fun for me, and the Bethany story, and we all read about this, I'm sure, a week ago, 2 weeks ago. I don't remember when it was, when Coronation Street decided to let us know, but we need to have our awareness level set low because they're about to be raised through the roof. And I was like, here we go, another medical storyline, brilliant. But she's going to get stoma, is she? Well, of course she's going to get stoma. Lifelong? Yeah, why not? And I was already just thinking, no, this isn't going to be good. And there were definitely elements of naffness about it. The Turkey hospital set. I've never been to Turkey, but I wasn't buying that that's where they were. You know, they could have shown a look out the window and had the volume wall out
toilet,
there.
but it was in Turkish.
Right. But as the week went on, I found myself just saying, you know, whatever. Let's just say they're in Turkey. It felt different, despite the fact that there are many medical storylines on Coronation Street. But I think the wide, you know, the distance, that inverted commas, between where they were and Weatherfield, they couldn't just have people going to visit or turning up to menace or have a bit of a cry. It was basically they are stranded in another country. The whole thing with the medical insurance not paying out, so they're now racking up thousands of pounds worth of debt. Even though in my heart I know that it's all going to be fine, because whenever anyone has any medical problem, not medical, monetary problem on Coronation Street, it's solved somehow, and we go, oh great, well, if only life were like that for all the rest of us. David feeling guilty about it. Daniel possibly, or Sarah being a bad mum and telling Daniel that he was he should be ashamed of himself. Yeah. I was really bizarrely gripped. Bethany is a really irritating character, and Sarah, I sometimes feel I'm very impatient with her behaviour, but somehow those were my favourite bits of the week. So I'm kind of, I'm looking forward to tearing them down with you this evening and trying to figure. Don't do that. No, I need breaking them down and kind of dissecting.
Okay.
Not
Usually
pulling apart and criticising.
When you dissect them.
But it was good. Well, I'm interested to hear what everyone else thought of it, and it was just a great exercise in not prejudging, because it could be quite good.
I am really, really, really tired of having my awareness raised, though. I am sick of it. I can't be doing with it anymore. I'm really at the end of my tether of it. I just want to watch a TV.
Paul's dead.
I know.
Next.
It's so I feel really bad about it too, because I always try to champion Corrie, using their power for good, right? Because we try to do that sometimes on the show. When something happens, try to be a bit responsible and talk about it in a way that I hope
not make too many inappropriate jokes.
I hope that people, when we do make jokes, understand that it's to relieve a bit of tension. But after a while, there's only so many things I can care about at once.
Yeah.
And
the fact that it came so soon.
I'm not treating this like an issue storyline, I'm afraid. I know it's supposed to be.
I kind of wonder, when they say we're raising awareness of something, what do they actually want to tell us about it? Is it just stomas are a thing, or be careful of getting plastic surgery in Turkey, because I know you're just about to.
Make sure you have insurance. All these things. There's literally 3 things going on at once. They're all issues-based storylines.
Mm. And
the stoma thing is obviously really important.
Yeah, and there are lots. I've seen people online saying, "Oh, I've got a stoma. It's really nice that they're showing and saying what it's like, and it'll be interesting to see how Bethany deals with it." And I kind of agree with that, but I still can't quite help the nagging feeling in the back of my head that it's going to be a bit of a Jack's leg, and it will cause a few bits of embarrassment or upset or tears. There are going to be tears, and then it's going to be quietly forgotten about within, I'm going to say, 6 months, and you'll never know about it, and you'll forget that she ever had a stoma.
I'm going to say the same, but I mean, I don't know what you want out of it.
I don't know what I want out of it, and this is the thing, when they give Coronation Street characters lifelong conditions, they're kind of setting themselves up for a fail, because we don't want to hear about it all the time. But then if we don't hear about it all the time, then we complain that they've seemingly forgotten about it. I know they haven't forgotten about it, and there's no reason why having a stoma, having a bag these days is going to be completely debilitating.
It's not life-limiting.
It's not at all.
It's just really, really hard and horrible to get used to, and traumatizing when your body does something like that. You're not expecting. And you feel betrayed and alienated from yourself, and also it's embarrassing. There's no getting around. It's embarrassing.
Yeah. Is this story going to make it less embarrassing?
I hope so. I mean,
people will still be embarrassed when they get them. Nobody's going to be. I just don't believe that anyone's going to now be. All the people that are going to be getting stomas and colostomy bags are going to be saying, "Oh, it's fine. I don't mind. Bethany got it, and she's shown me the power of positive thinking that it's all okay. It still sucks."
Maybe all that will happen is that when people get them from now on, they'll be like, You'll be fine. Look at Bethany. Look at Molly off The Traitors.
She's gorgeous.
They're both beautiful and blonde.
I know, and you don't even have to be beautiful and blonde to get a stoma, because I know somebody that's got a bag. I'm not going to say who they are for privacy, but somebody that I know quite close to me has got one, and it's
not me.
It's not Gemma. It's not Gemma. It's somebody else.
We've got brown hair.
And I remember when they got it, and it was absolutely terrible for them. And I remember visiting them in the hospital when it was getting done, and they're now living a normal, healthy life with it. It's great the way that the medical advancements
really
have made it
out.
Yeah, it's absolutely.
And I also have somebody very close to me who was going to get one. There was a possibility that they were going to get one. I'm really, really upset about it.
Oh, I know.
So, and it was quite hard to, I had all the pamphlets and stuff. I was reading about it this summer to try to help deal with it. And it is difficult, but it's better than being dead, I suppose.
We're not saying that, our awareness is already raised as high as it needs to be. Well, so don't do this, Coronation Street. But with the MND, I really, really, truly believe that was worth raising people's awareness of. And knowing, what's going on inside their heads, and the fact that their personality hasn't changed if you've got MND. That was really worthy story. And what are they trying to raise awareness here? Are they just saying, well, do you know that stoma exists? No? Well, you do now. Although everybody...
I don't know. I think... I don't get what you mean about it, because you're acting like everyone knows what one is.
Well, no, they don't, but... Although on Coronation Street, everybody seems to.
They've all watched The Traitors.
It was a little... I don't know. I think that there were too many people who were able to... Everybody who was told that Bethany was getting a stoma instantly knew what that was, and I don't know how true to life that is, but maybe thanks to Coronation Street that will be the case.
Yeah, I don't know how much I would have known about it.
I would not have known what a stoma is, and maybe I'm just ignorant. I know I'm ignorant. If that person that I know had not had one,
I do remember before the person got it that there was definitely
I better appreciate this anonymity.
There was definitely stuff on the internet. I remember reading about people who had it, trying to destigmatise it, like stoma babe. Somebody I just remember, because there was quite a lot. In the world of influencers, there were definitely people who were sort of coming up and saying, I've got this, I've got that. It doesn't stop me from doing, what I want to do in my life.
Yeah.
So,
I just get a bit weary of.
It is the thing is.
Let's throw another massive drama at them, and it can't just be a little problem that she has as a complication of liposuction. It's got to be the biggest. It's not just a stoma; it's a permanent stoma.
The thing is about it, Michael, is that it's three things going on at once.
What with the insurance and
the money and the it's just what I can't focus on all of it.
But,
so it becomes unreal, It's like, okay.
Yeah, but despite all this and the fact that originally to me it seemed like it was going to be a bit of too heavy, but I'm not in the mood for this. I am still 100% invested in this story, and it was for sure my favourite part of the week.
Also,
because they did a pretty good job of making it feel different, and I like most of the characters involved.
The main thing about it is that at the moment we've heard really little from Bethany about how she feels about it, which is weird because you'd think a story about a character who's got a permanent stoma would be focusing on their reaction and how do they feel. But at the moment, we just had to go, oh no, it's terrible.
Like, we haven't had much chance.
No, exactly. That's my point. The whole story's been Bethany's in Turkey and she needs £25,000. That's the story now.
Yeah, it will come. I trust Corey that it will come.
I just don't want any more awareness about anything. I don't care. No more new things. Nothing new. No. I don't care.
Only repeats of old stories.
I only want to hear about. What do I want to hear about? I want to hear about that new Polish family that moved in and isn't the guy. He's very nice and quiet and he works down the pub picking up the glasses. I want to hear about Jerry Booth who died of a heart attack. I want to hear about. What else I want to hear about? What even happened?
Ken Barlow dating a sexy school librarian.
I want to hear about Ken Barlow burning down the house because he went to go and buy cigarettes from the corner shop.
We haven't even, this seems to be we're discussing the story before we even properly get to it. But
what have we done?
The other thing with this story...
You've got rid of the notes, so I don't know. Yeah.
It's the other thing with this story is that we're watching it. I'm watching it, thinking, are these reshoots? Where's Gail?
Whoops.
What's going? You know,
There was a bit today where Dave was like, "Oh, mum keeps asking about you, or she's gonna like literally, David. Where is she? Is she not in the same house as you?
Seriously,
put her on.
Seriously, it's distracting how absent
I'm not really
Gail
finding
is
it weird because
through this.
Every family has got like at least one really prominently missing person in every single storyline.
I have never seen it be this bad or obvious, and it's because maybe it's because as well we've been primed to expect things like this happening, because you know we've all heard about the reshoots that have been necessitated by Sean Wilson's not appearing, and again that's not a spoiler, we've talked about this on the podcast before, we're not going into the details, but yeah, Sean Wilson was supposed to be coming back to Coronation Street this autumn. Now he's not. They filmed some bits, now they've had to do reshoots to make it like, you know, to cover it up.
Something else.
So I'm feeling that maybe in the original version he was going to come back because of this. Do you think?
It does.
He's a medical
seem to make
man.
sense.
He might be able to offer some stoma advice for Bethany.
Kid?
Well, I don't think. No, Martin's not directly related to Bethany, but I mean they're all family.
That's why he's not coming back.
That's why he's not.
So I was going to come back, but I remembered I'm not related to her. Anyway.
So he was going to be in it, which would have meant that Helen Worth would have had scenes in it. Now that they've had to possibly reshoot, I'm thinking, have they taken Helen out of these scenes, or has Helen not been able to film these scenes? So they've got Sue Nichols in. It's just distractingly obvious that Gail is not in these scenes.
What do you guys think?
I mean, I'm not Lily. I don't care. She's never in it.
She's playing football.
She's just out the back playing football.
She's being menaced by whoever's in the back garden.
I'll totally accept that as an excuse, but Gail not being there for her family going through this serious drama. Sorry, I don't buy it.
Right.
And with that, shall we finally get around to announcing the stories that we're going to be covering this week?
I thought we were doing the cabin.
No, we are going to be starting off by talking more about this Platt Sick story. Last week it was Platt Stick storyline, but she is definitely pretty poorly this.
Stick?
What was it? It was just for plastic, wasn't it? Plastic. But now she has plastic surgery. Next up, I'm already calling this the pallbearers story for Paul's funeral, because that's what they're talking about, really, isn't it? So pallbearers, we have got some deering in the headlights at number 3, followed by the return of everybody's favourite, the Mason and the Carpenter. Yeah, that is right. Stu is back in the spotlight this week, and finally we had a few scenes at number 9. So Steak with the Vape is back with a vengeance for our 5th storyline of the week. How do you want to get through this, Gemma? Do you want to do the Bethany one? Do you want me to do it?
I'll do the Bethany one.
You do the Bethany one. So we've already pretty much talked about everything that happened, but now let's do it in painful detail.
Yeah, why not?
Yes. So Mondays was I quite like the beginning of Mondays. It was gossip spready, wasn't it? The word was moving around the street about Ryan and Daisy splitting up, and Sean was being particularly gossipy was it in the cafe? I can't remember. But I really liked that. And we've said before that Corrie needs a gossip character, you know, in the absence of Norris, and Sean's the closest we're going to get to it. So I like that they gave him a little taste of that on Monday's episode. I'm sorry, I'm already taking over this. What happened next, Gemma?
Daniel hears about it, goes over to the Rovers to see if Daisy needs any help, you know, with her being sad and everything. And Daisy talks to Daniel about her and Ryan's bond over having acid poured out all over them. Maybe this will inspire Daniel to get a stoma.
Well, maybe. I do wonder what's good. We said last week, are we just resetting who's going out with who in this little love quadrangle? Because I do think and hope that Daniel and Daisy are going to be an item by the end of this, although it's still not looking really that way at the end of this week, is it? But yeah, I think that possibly, you know, Ryan with his acid scar, Bethany with the stoma, perfect match. Maybe.
I just think that I think they're a pair of grafters, those two, and they don't have traditional
skin grafters.
They don't have traditional jobs, right? So they're always going to be having to drum up some kind of business somewhere. So Ryan and Bethany kind of like both striving and, hey, I've got this great gig, can write about it in you write about it in the paper, Bethany, and I'll you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like that could be much more interesting than whatever it is the other two lot do. I don't know. Anyway, because Daniel and Bethany are just.
I just don't like
duds.
it. I do not like it. And even you were talking about when Daniel was in the hospital with Sarah. I think it was on Wednesday's episode. The age difference between Daniel and Sarah, it feels like he's closer to Sarah's age than he is Bethany's.
Well,
I don't think there's a whole lot in it, to be honest.
I actually think he's more mature than Sarah.
Yeah, well, yeah, who isn't?
So
it just doesn't work for me. I think that him and Daisy should. Well, you know what I think about that.
Well, you know what I think.
So I liked that scene.
Right. So,
but he does let her down.
Who lets who down?
Daniel let Daisy down because she does a love confession.
Well, he lets everybody down in this scene. He lets Daisy down and he lets Bethany down because he keeps getting phone calls from these Turkish numbers and he's not answering because it's like, it's just going to be Bethany gloating on about how great her room is. I mean, for goodness, this girl's got in there. She's been there like a day and already she's just under the knife.
How? No, she's been there a week or so. How?
Okay.
How bad should Daniel feel about ignoring these phone calls? Because this was something that Sarah was holding over him on Friday's episode. She was being particularly difficult to stomach, but I think that him not answering the phone to his girlfriend, even just to say, "Oh, hi babe, sorry I can't talk at the moment." I know he was with Daisy,
okay,
but it seemed a bit off.
Why has Bethany put him down as an emergency contact?
Well,
they've only been going out with each other for hardly any time at all. And it's
9
useless, isn't he? Or else, all right, don't put someone down as your emergency contact and not tell them.
But that's the thing. I would say that Daniel is, he's pretty reliable.
Why did he answer the phone then?
Well, no, exactly. That I didn't really buy that he wouldn't.
All right, whatever. He's too busy talking.
But I don't think that even this conversation that he was having with, yeah.
What?
I'm just thinking, should he have gone and seen Daisy? Right, Bethany hadn't been gone for too long before he was already running round to Daisy to say, "Are you all right? Are you all right?" And he clearly wasn't. Going there to try and make back up with her. But I can totally see how Sarah would look at him doing that and think, "Hang on a minute, come on, she's your ex."
Head up his arse at all times. Don't expect him to understand or be able to contextualise his behaviour in any way whatsoever. Right, so he's not answering this phone, and he just says to Daisy, Daisy's steeling herself to tell Daniel that Ryan thought that she was still in love with him.
And she was. She admits it, that she was still in love with Daniel.
And Daniel is like,
my heart had a little flutter.
I need to know what Trevor and Connie are getting up to. And then after the advert break, he's like, I don't know what to say. Can't see why you wouldn't fancy her, to be honest with you, because I am a big catch. The phone rings again, doesn't answer again. He tells Daisy that feelings just don't go away, but too much has happened. And I'm with Bethany now. Maybe feelings don't go away, but they do change.
So he's kind of saying by that there is something lingering there. I think there's a little pilot light that could be reignited at some point in the future.
He said, I'm letting the fans know it ain't over till one of us is dead. So she's disappointed, and he's like, look, she tells him she's okay with it, and it's fake smiles and stuff, says thanks for checking in. And then Daniel tries to phone this Turkish number back, but he just gets the answer phone. Finally, he gets a phone call when he gets back to the flat, and it's not Bethany at all. It's somebody with some shocking news. So he goes and tells Sarah that Bethany is in intensive care in Turkey.
I do wish that Corrie hadn't spoilt this in advance, and it wasn't too far in advance. Oh no, it was actually. No, this has been out there for a while, actually, hasn't it? That this was going to happen to Bethany. But did they? I
don't know why they do. Do you think they do it just so they can be like, look, see, we don't make it up as we go along. We thought about this ages ago.
Do people really need priming about this? I just would have been a lot more exciting because it did feel it was so different and out there. Especially when they had the scene later in the episode where you get the shot of the plane and Daniel in the airport is like, oh, what's going on here then? I wasn't sorry.
Right, so let's say Sarah and Daniel are frantically trying to book tickets to go to Istanbul, but Sarah's passport has only got 3 months left and they won't aboard the plane with it, so she's going to have to go and sort it out and get a renewal. So she'll have to follow after, and she's like, oh no, what will happen if I'm not there? What?
Well, yeah, they don't know at the moment what's actually happened. They know that Bethany's in intensive care.
You just think she had an accident or drowned in a pool. Or...
I can't think of anything worse. I mean, we're not parents, but if we got a phone call to say that Abby, bless her, was in intensive care in Turkey, I wouldn't know what to do.
No, I'd be confused. Yeah, this is horrific. So he goes to the taxi, he gets on a plane. Meanwhile, Audrey and David come round to Sarah's flat, and she's trying to sort this. She's really, really being passive about it. She's like, "I'll just phone him up. I don't want to go there. I don't want to go around there. It's a big faff, innit? I'll just phone him up." Nobody's answering the phone. She's not getting anywhere, and she's just freaking out because she doesn't know what to do. And they're trying to calm her down.
That was the first scene that made me think there's something quite reshooty about this.
Okay.
Okay. It clearly doesn't bother you as much as it does me.
Not at all. Sarah finds Carla in the pub and tells her, and Daisy, and Daisy's like, oh, Daniel was Bethany's emergency contact. He was getting phone calls and he didn't answer them. And then they're like, well, why were you with him? Why were you together? And then Daniel arrives in Istanbul, goes to the hotel, which looks a bit like...
The hotel?
The hospital. It does look a bit like a Premier Inn. Daisy tells Sean, everyone's telling everybody. Daniel calls Sarah and tells her that Bethany's got sepsis and her bowel has been perforated due to liposuction. I don't even know what do they... I thought, right, this is how I imagine liposuction. They get like a big hose, like it looks like a needle, and they shove it in your bum and they just kind of hoover out the fat. Why are they going
I think the Corrie's not done a very good job of raising awareness of it then, if you still don't know what liposuction is.
I wanted to see like a really in-depth...
They got Channel 5 shows after 9 o'clock that shows you all that, and all when it goes wrong.
Do you remember when
have to imply it in Coronation
was completely
Street.
Obsessed with having, what they're called, where you have your hose at your bum and they suck everything out.
Colonic irrigation.
Yeah, do you remember when everyone was obsessed with that and people are having that done on television all the time? Because like Gillian McKeith talking about... Look at your poo. Look at that, you disgusting animal. You need to eat more greens.
Yeah. It's along the same lines.
Why didn't we get taught about liposuction?
Now I'm not skipping ahead. Can we talk about that plane scene? Because I found that, it seemed like it was just stock footage of a plane, didn't it? But it came out of nowhere. The fact that Coronation Street so rarely films out of the confines of Media City now, having a plane did make me think, are they actually doing something here? What's going on? It felt a bit special.
It did remind me of like a bumper in like a travel program where they're like, you can go to Turkey for just £385 per person, all inclusive.
Well, they showed a picture of the Turkish airport, didn't they? But then they had Daniel walking through what I think was Manchester Airport, and it was a split-second scene. It must have been no more than 5 seconds that we saw Daniel marching through the airport. But just adding that little bit, just making the effort, and it's not just it's money. And I know that the budget is the issue here. It really helped sell the fact that he was going to Turkey. Unfortunately, yeah, as you say, when they got to Turkey, that hospital set just felt too much like a set.
I would like a window,
window with the volume wall outside,
and have
the window can just have blinds on, because there was some scenes in number 8 today where you could see the houses the other side of the street where there was just a big picture of it outside the window. But no, but luckily, as I said, by the end of the week, I was able to just suspend my disbelief. But I don't know what more I would have wanted. I don't know what a Turkish hospital looks like, but
I'm just googling it now.
Didn't work enough.
It looks like a hospital.
Didn't work enough for me.
I think the problem was that they had to make it look like different from the medical centre, because then we'd be like, it's a medical centre with different signs on
the Weatherfield Hospital set. Yeah, it didn't look like that.
Right.
But anyway, so that was Mondays, and I was in on this. I was like, okay, let's keep on with it.
Go on, then.
What happened next?
Let's see what happens. We said so on Wednesday. The Platts are like, oh, busy. Sarah's got her appointment at the passport office. Audrey's like, why has she done this? I don't understand. David goes to the hotel and tells Debbie what's happened, and he's not really happy considering that everyone this whole week was just everyone just putting the blame on everybody for, like, in a really weird, why does it have to be somebody's fault? It's just such a bizarre thing. Like, David's like, Debbie, this is your fault because you're the one that got her involved in it. You must have known. Are you getting backhanders off of this?
It's quite interesting, in retrospect, seeing that David went and laid this blame at Debbie's door.
He felt guilty?
Well, yeah. Is it a kind of deflection?
Yeah. She's like, no, what the hell? This is terrible. Adam comes over. He's like, I'm just having a meeting for no reason here. Even though the office is completely empty now, I've kicked Dee Dee out. But anyway, he starts asking her questions and believes her when she says that she doesn't know what.
Do you lay any blame at Debbie's door here?
No, it's nobody's fault. I don't blame anybody.
I don't blame anyone. No, it's not a stupid.
Well, it's a stupid story. It's stupid to like, oh, whose fault is it?
Yeah, there doesn't always have to be someone to blame. I think that they didn't quite set up Bethany's motivation for wanting to get liposuction.
No, I don't agree with that
side of it, I think, came a bit too quickly.
I don't agree with that.
Really?
I've said this before.
Last week, I felt that there were a couple of episodes, people mentioning it and having a joke about it. I feel that we should have had a little bit more build up to Bethany's body issues, and they kind of paid lip service to it a little bit today when they said, "Oh, Nathan, he's the one that kicked this off." And
I didn't like that at all. I thought that was ridiculous. No,
because that helped me to believe it a bit more.
No, can I just point out that thousands of women and men get liposuction all the time, and they're not suffering from PTSD or trauma or abuse. Why do we have to make out that you've got to be mental to want liposuction? I know that she's very thin, but there are definitely still people that get it when they look thin.
See, I've just got,
I'm sorry, but I live in my own little world pressure
here
on women, especially young women, especially today with social media and all the filters and everybody looks perfect all the time. I think you'd be mad if you weren't influenced in some way to think that you need to look different. Every single girl has got some kind of thing about herself that she doesn't like physically, and if somebody's saying to you, oh, why don't you just get it done, it's no big deal, why don't you just get a tweakment? I wanted to kill myself.
Yeah, you hated
that really annoyed me. Tweakment. Why don't you just get it done, it's no big deal, it's cheap, we'll give you a discount, you can write about it, you're here to write about it, why don't you get it done? Everyone's acting like she's made some kind of deal with the devil or like done some kind of evil secret plot, or she's gullible or stupid or mad. No, loads of people go and get plastic surgery.
Do they though?
How many? Yes, they do. How many? Look, I can't see what. I know that the Coronation Street is saying, oh, it's a big deal. Any kind of surgery is a big deal, right? That's the number one thing. And secondly, I would never get any of this done myself. Putting that aside, I think the amount of people that get cosmetic procedures now is enormous, and they're not all doing it because they're insane.
I think you're right.
Or dealing with some kind of I'm saying insane in inverted commas. Dealing with some kind of emotional trauma or baggage. I mean, in a sense, yes, we all are, because we're all women that live in a world where we're constantly scrutinised for how we look, and your reaction to that is perfectly logical to say, well, I guess I'll have to change the way I look to make myself more acceptable and appealing to people and attractive, because being an attractive woman is a very important thing in our society.
I think that the amount of little eye tucks and Botox and lip fillers, that's definitely
everyone gets it done.
To me, and as somebody who is that's not part of their world,
it's not part of our world at all.
Liposuction feels like just a bit of a step beyond that, and it would surprise me, maybe it does surprise me if you're saying this is the case, that it's as prevalent as you're making out.
Well, I think I'm not trying to make out that it's like a super common thing. What I'm saying is that having surgical procedures has been so normalised by society that acting as though she's done something outlandish, I think, is a bit disingenuous.
Yeah, I guess.
Especially without naming names, and I'm not gonna be too specific about this, but there are loads of people that work in Media City who are walking around with things that aren't theirs that have been implanted somewhere by somebody else. It's not like the craziest thing that anyone's ever heard of that somebody might... I mean, a boob job. Is a boob job worse more invasive, more dangerous, more risky than having liposuction? I don't bloody know. But I can tell you there's plenty of people that have had that done without people remarking above them going, oh, what trauma did you go through when you were a child to make you think you need that done? Or do you just have eyes and watch television and get told constantly that you're not good enough because you're a woman?
Maybe it's just the speed at which she's had it done. Because I think even, people who get boob jobs don't just wake up one day and say, hey, you know what, I haven't really considered it before, but I'm hanging around writing an article about people doing boob jobs and I think I'll get it myself. It feels like I would hope that people would, weigh up the pros and cons and give it a bit of reflection time before actually going under the knife. And Bethany has only been in Turkey, less than a week before she decides to do it herself.
When you're being surrounded by... Don't forget, she's been surrounded by people who are... And her job there is to persuade other people to get this done, right? So she's influencing herself to a certain extent, sitting there writing all this copy about, oh, you'd be looked after and all. I've just looked it up, apparently 1.9 million liposuction procedures recorded worldwide in 2021, a jump of 25% over the preceding year, but that would have been... Okay. A hard year to get much done. Yeah,
that would. How many were botched though? That's the thing. How many ended up with permanent stomas?
What can I write?
This really is just the next step up from Asha's skin lightening story, isn't it? It's like you thought that was traumatic when she had scars on her arm. Well, you wait and see. You've not seen nothing yet. Horror surgery.
Liposuction has a total complication rate of 5%.
Well, that's not it's insignificant, is it?
But mortality rate is 1 in 5,000.
Oh, okay, she's all right then.
Well, that's quite high.
Is this
anytime you do anything that could end up killing you,
don't do it. And
it's not something you have to get done, I say no.
It's interesting because I feel like I'm making comparisons to this more and more recently, but in classic Coronation Street, Shelley just this week is at the stage where she's saying, "Oh, I want to get plastic surgery, Charlie. I feel like so big. I can't bear to look at myself because of how he's worn her down." And with that, for me, it felt like more believable that she would want to go for it, but just because we've seen her journey towards making that decision. And Bethany, it just felt too quick. But and then maybe it would have been nice to have seen some scenes in Turkey. But then if I'm asking for that, I'm also asking for more sets that I'm just gonna not be able to stop thinking that's not Turkey. I'm
gonna say that maybe what happened here, I don't know. Did they always want her to have a stoma? That's the question. Because I think you're not good. Are you going to go for a nose job and come out with a stoma? Not sure about it. But liposuction is like one of the few things that you can go, oh yes, you had liposuction done, and you don't have to like say to the actress like, do you mind if we put fake lips on you or give you a, do you want a free nose job?
It's hidden, isn't it?
Nobody's going to see that you've got liposuction done, especially if it goes wrong.
Yeah, and this is partly why having the stoma in the bag is, I imagine, going to be quickly hidden and forgotten about because she just needs to pull her jumper down.
Oh, what a burden for you.
Yeah.
Having to play somebody with a stoma. How are you going to cope with that?
Right. Let's move on. I don't even remember what we got to in the notes.
In Turkey, Daniel was frantic, right? The doctor's saying we're going to need to keep her here for a week. It might be a bit more complicated than we said, but I can't really talk to you about it now because I've got a pager beeping and I've got loads of people. We don't call them patients here, we call them customers. See you later. David is with Adam in the lawyer's office and he's going to help him as much as he can, but they're going to need a specialist lawyer for whatever this is.
Nothing really happens that way in the end, does it? Like,
to try to sue Debbie or something?
Yeah.
Oh, I just can't be bothered with that.
No, I'm not fussed with that.
I don't see how you possibly could have any kind of... Anyway, she's probably signed something that says that if you die, it's your own fault. I mean, I had to sign that when I had my appendix out. Well, I did. They go, right, you could die, this could happen, your face could fall off, your leg might go missing, we don't know. Sign it, otherwise you'll die.
Well, if Bethany had to sign something that was written in Turkish, then she probably had no hope.
Well, she would be able to sue for that, probably. So, Sarah arrives in Turkey. It's definitely Turkey. It's very purple and nice wooden panels everywhere.
They love that.
But it's much nicer than an NHS hospital, but that's because it's much more expensive. She's crying. She's terrible. She's just the worst. I kind of love that about Bethany. Sarah.
Well, it's consistent, isn't it?
She's just consistently terrible. Like, lots of parents step up on Coronation Street, and they kind of model really great behaviour, and they sort of, sometimes they will make a mistake and then they'll own up to it, and they'll say, oh, I'm really sorry, and everyone will bond and move on. But Sarah just blunders her way through, like not knowing what the hell to do and making everything worse by being overly emotional.
In many ways, she still feels like that 13-year-old mum who had the baby too young, and she's not been able to grow up and mature. She's still trying to figure out how to do this parenting thing 25 odd years later.
And it's like, watching her, I'm thinking, yeah, not everyone is cut out to be a parent. It doesn't mean you shouldn't be a parent.
I'm not particularly criticising Sarah for doing it.
It's nice. It's just kind of refreshing and to watch someone being completely messy. So she's like sobbing over Bethany, and Daniel's saying, well, we can't do anything till she wakes up. And Sarah's basically blaming him for not knowing and not telling her everything. Daniel tells Sarah that Bethany didn't tell the travel insurance people. For number one, I'm really surprised she got travel insurance, because I was expecting her not to get it. I thought that was going to be the story. But she had this procedure done, and so they're not going to cover her because she's travelled. I think when you get your travel insurance, they say to you, you go in to get. I think I remember filling that out.
No.
Like, are you going to Turkey to get something done like everyone else is? So they haven't. She hasn't.
Is there a
informed
box?
them.
But I'll see what takes me fancy.
Oh, I don't know. I might get something sucked out, put back in. So they're not paying out. And to make matters worse, she's got to stay in Turkey till their bills have been paid.
I know that it's a little bit over the top, but I didn't particularly mind that extra.
No, I like that. That's more interesting to me, I think.
Yeah.
Because we've never had a story. I don't know, but it is interesting. I was just thinking about people watching this from countries where you have to pay for your health care when you have it. Because obviously NHS is not free. It's just free at the point of service. We pay for it all the time. I hate people that say it's free. It's not free. But if you're in America, like, well, yeah. Why wouldn't you? Sarah's mad at Daniel for not picking up the phone when she was phoning her, and she also accuses him of drooling over Daisy because she's bringing up the fact that they were chatting while he was being rung by the hospital. Then the doctor walks in and says, I need to talk to Sarah. So Daniel has to leave, and then Sarah comes back and tells him that she's worked out that Daisy and Daniel are still kind of, getting together. Yeah,
well, this was, I'm going to say, on Daniel, because she'd been called away from the doctor to the doctor, and he didn't ask what the doctor said when she came back, did he? He's more interested in their little argument and their little spat that's taken place.
They're both... See, the thing is about it, Sarah and Daniel are both quite emotionally immature, but I don't think Daniel realises that he is. I think he thinks he's very clever and above everything, but he's not. So she says to him, you're the reason Bethany's in that hospital bed. You're the reason that my daughter thinks she's not beautiful enough. You've given her this inferiority complex. Why else would she have done it? It's because of your influence that she's done this to herself. She starts crying.
That's not fair, but I will give her a very long leash, but because her daughter is in the ICU, she's going to be saying things that aren't particularly, that might be seen as being a bit over the top and unfair.
Daniel says, well, what's wrong with her? What's happened? What's the doctor said? And she says, I'm not telling you. It's none of your business. Go back to Weatherfield. I don't want you here anyway. So Sarah does tell David later.
Yeah, she tells David. Daniel doesn't find out until today, though, does he?
No. And she tells him that it's £2,000 a day. And they've already spent, £15,000 on the surgery in the first place.
It's almost as bad as trying to get your AI porn video taken down off the internet, isn't it?
I know. I tell you what, though, this is nothing compared to going on holiday and peak time in this country.
Yeah, teachers all
£2,000 a day. What, are you going to Cornwall? Anyway, Bethany's woken up. Sarah hasn't told Bethany exactly what has happened with Daniel, and she's like, "Where is he? Oh." I've got to get back to Bertie.
Yeah.
So he's not even seen her awake. He's just been hovering over her fretting, and now she sent him away. And Bethany's sad because she doesn't know where he is, and she doesn't know what's happened. And then she realises that she's got a stoma, and and I think Sarah's telling her there's been a lot of damage done, and Bethany's trying to blow it off and be a bit blasé, like, oh well, it's just a few days. Everyone gets it done. It's not a big deal. It's just a little procedure. It's just a little tweakment. It's fine.
Yeah, Bethany was very, very blasé about it, wasn't she? She was just like, oh, whatever. I think that probably she would have been more worried and concerned about it.
It was a bit of a weird reaction, but I don't know.
It was like, could have been worse.
Could be dead.
But I suppose that was done so that when she found out just how bad the situation was, she, the emotion had to flip to quite that extent. I don't know.
I don't know either. It's just a different way of approaching it, I suppose. In the pub, David's telling Debbie they're thinking of suing, and they're also going to set up a page to raise money for Bethany to pay off this hospital bill.
That was the scene where Audrey and Debbie were both in there, and they were both going sue to each other, weren't they? Which we remarked is like,
that's funny. That's their real name.
That's the actors' names. Yeah, it doesn't take much to entertain us.
Debbie's like, well, are people not going to think she's brought this on herself? Then we cut to Bethany, who's saying, oh, everyone gets this done, no big deal, just got a bit wrong, it's not permanent. And then Sarah's like, wow. She's so dramatic about it. And so, like, if that was your mum, how awful would it be to have your mum, like, pause for a dramatic effect? And, like, really,
it's like they're used to it on Coronation Street.
I've got some bad news for you. That's too terrible. I can't even tell you. I don't even want to tell you. Oh, my God. It's so hard for me, Sarah, to be your mum right now because of all the terrible things that are about to happen to you. She tells her the bombshell, the stoma. It's permanent.
Do you think that because we haven't actually made it clear yet what a stoma is, because there might be people listening who aren't sure. It's just like a little nub, isn't it? It's a bit where what a part of your intestine is moved.
It attaches to the outside
of your body. So you got like a little tap,
and you have a bag that attaches to it.
I'm not explaining it really well,
where
but it's
the waste is expelled.
Yeah.
So it's basically a bumhole bypass.
Yeah, basically.
To a bag. And it's permanent. On Friday, this one is. Sometimes you get it in for a little bit, just to see how you feel about it. Most people don't choose to carry on. On Friday, Bethany is devastated. She thinks that that's why Daniel's scarpered. And she's like, I've ruined my life. And Sarah's like, you've got to be strong. And Bethany says, well, they told me this was no big deal. They gave me a discount. It seemed like a good idea. I only wanted to come and have a tweakment. She says, I wish I'd never come. I want to go back to my bed. The insurance will cover this, won't it, Mum? And Sarah's like, it won't even cover the fact we lost your luggage. So she says, no, we're up to £25,000 in debt so far. But we'll sort it out. Don't worry about it.
That £25,000. It could have been £25, or it could have been £1 million.
Yeah,
it is absolutely meaningless. As a Coronation Street viewer who knows that they will sort it out eventually.
Yep.
And that's just because they keep on dropping these kind of stories on us.
I'm sure she'll just write a book about it and get given a prize. That's
like we're desensitised.
They've done it too much. It's like we don't care now. Daniel goes to see David and updates him about this, and David's like, I can't help but think this might be my fault. He tells him she's got a permanent stoma, and Daniel's shocked, and he asks David if Bethany's ever said, like, why she got this done? Why is she getting liposuction done? Has she ever said anything to you about it? And David's like, well, there is a chance that it might be my fault, yeah. I phoned her up when she was in Turkey, and she said she was thinking of getting lipo, and I said, oh, you should take all day to get rid of your love handle. So I thought it was a joke.
That was really funny. That was hilarious.
But then he blames Nathan and said, oh, it's all Nathan's fault. And then Daniel says, oh, who needs a creepy sex offender when your own uncle's making you feel like a beached whale?
I don't think... Are we supposed to think that David is to blame here? Because, I suppose it was a bit of a thinking point for him that, well, maybe my sarcasm has led to something.
Bethany is old enough to understand that her sarcastic uncle should not be taken seriously at any point whatsoever.
I completely
have
agree.
A sarcastic uncle who will very often say things that are inadvertently quite offensive, but I don't find offence out of it because this is a joke.
Yeah. I suppose the question is, like, is it natural for David to feel guilty? Yes, of course
I think
it
it might
is.
be a bit of
But
character development.
Is
for
he
him,
guilty?
Actually.
No, he's
Nobody's
not.
fault. It's not even Nathan's fault.
Is this
Nathan's
going-
getting blamed for everything.
Yeah.
He might as well just stay in prison now because he's nearly killed a girl.
Is this going to stop David being sarcastic?
Hope
I
not.
certainly hope not.
If this ruins David's character, I don't care about Stomer. That would be the worst.
So I don't mind that. As you said, it is a bit of character development for him, but I do hope that he realises this isn't his fault. Nobody's. If anyone's to blame, it's Bethany, or I guess the terrible Turkish surgeon. But
I don't know if anyone.
it's
I think
just
sepsis
one of
is
those
just-
things.
Any medical procedure has an element of risk involved in it.
Yeah.
That's just the end. That's just it. We're human beings. We're made of meat and bits and bobs and tubes and stuff. And if you mess around with them, sometimes it goes wrong.
Meat makes mistakes.
Daniel goes to the pub and tells Daisy, I cannot believe everybody's spilling all these beans about her private medical information. If I ever get a stoma, I'm not having it announced in the local pub by my stupid boyfriend.
I mean,
I'm sure it'll come out eventually, but the last thing Bethany needs is everybody finding out about it. But I suppose they need the information for the crowdfunder. Imagine how embarrassing. I mean, look, there's stigma about it already because it's an unpleasant part of the body to discuss. But then having a crowdfunder and everyone going, "Oh, but was it your fault?"
I
She's
can't
gonna-
remember.
It's awful.
I can't remember. They have decided to try and keep it a secret, haven't they?
Well, it's not going to work.
I wonder whether Bethany's
they're
going
gonna-
to
they're
come
gonna-
back and try and pretend that she hasn't got it, and then
No, I
it's
don't
just going
think
to be
they're keeping
revealed.
that a
What's
secret.
that?
I think they're trying to keep it a secret that it was
Oh, the fact that
liposuction.
it was just the liposuction.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's going to come out, isn't it? But...
Well, they'll be like, "You're so thin. You must have lost weight with your surgery."
Yeah, I hope that she actually did manage to lose a bit of weight. Otherwise, she's
Michael,
going to be kicking herself. She's perfect.
You
She
don't need to
doesn't
have
it.
liposuction. You just have to have sepsis and end up in bed for a week.
Yeah, maybe she and Jack can share sepsis tales of woe.
You've been very insensitive. Right, so he tells Daisy all of her private medical information, and he also says, "Oh, you know, me and Sarah have fallen out as well. I'm really upset. You know, she's in a really bad way." He's kind of really sad, and she offers to share the crowdfunder on her socials. Very relevant to influencers, isn't it? Getting sepsis from.
I think that
Liposuction.
Daisy's subscriber numbers have hemorrhaged
Who
since
cares?
the acid attack.
If
I
she
don't
came
see
crawling
her as
back-
being a massive influencer
No,
anymore.
She kept
was sitting
calling
there.
back months after, like backtracking on all of the deals that she took. Like that's never been addressed, and I know nobody cares about this, but as an influencer, if you had your wedding day sponsored, even if you did have a horrible acid attack that happened to you, and you just never mentioned any of it again, you'd be blacklisted.
I thought that she made the decision herself to ease off the whole social media.
I know, I
thing.
didn't like that either because, again, it seems like Coronation Street is sort of trying to punish or insinuate that there's some kind of blame, even though I don't think this is intentional, but they're sort of putting a bit of the blame onto these women, Bethany and Daisy in particular, for like caring about what they look like or making money out of what they look like or, you know, wanting to change it, when really they are just being pressured by unbelievable amounts of influence from everybody else. It's society that's making people do it.
Blame society.
It's no different from wanting to put makeup on. That's just as much of a weird social pressure thing as anything else. People don't think of it that way because it's so normalised and natural to like, oh, we put a bit of lippy on, put a bit of mascara on. But really think about what you're doing. It's a bit weird, isn't it? You know?
Well,
it's
that's
all
why
a
I
bit
don't
weird.
do it,
Well, it's all a bit
quite
weird.
frankly.
And it's not normal. We just think that it is because everybody else does it.
Bit less risk than getting your gut sliced open or whatever.
Yeah, I know, but we look back on, you know, in the Elizabethan times, they put lead on their face to make themselves look white, and they all died and their face melted off because they're all stupid idiots. Well, it's no different from today.
I guess.
Well, they probably knew there were risks when they lathered all this stuff on their face, but it was more important for them to look good, just like it is now, because of the pressure.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that, you know, people are helpless and they should be infantilized, but let's just, you know, give a bit of credit to these people for what it is that they're going through and how much pressure it is to be a young woman now.
Yeah, it is. I mean, like I said earlier, it is along the lines of the Asher skin lightening, especially like over there in India, where that particular practice was
like,
normalised.
"Oh, Asher, you idiot! You stupid idiot!"
No,
Everyone
I guess
was
not.
very nice about her.
Who do we blame?
Yeah.
So,
and also the other thing about it is Bethany, you know, she went to London, didn't she, to be a journalist. Being around that sort of people, PR stuff and all those kind of shiny, bright, they're all beautiful and skinny and blonde and posh. If you come back with your head a bit in a kerfuddle, hanging around with people like that, I certainly would not blame you or be surprised at all that you feel that you are in some way inferior even when you look as beautiful as Bethany does.
Well, Bethany's having a bit of problems over in Turkey.
It's not
now,
over, is it?
No.
It just gets more expensive the longer she's there.
Pneumonia.
She's got pneumonia, which is, you know, probably another 10 grand on the top.
I thought that I thought those scenes were quite effective when she was struggling to breathe.
Yeah, I know.
If
I was Sarah, I'd be like, please don't be ill again. Oh, how much is this? Hang on, just tell me, how much is this going to be? I'll sort it out. You tell me what to do. I'll do it for free. Anyway, they sort that out.
They sort it out, but it's just going to cost them. Yeah.
So Daniel has remembered that he's got a trust fund. Now I was trying to remember what he did to her because he had his house, and just to remind everybody, his mum's not dead. She's just given him a house. So he had the house, and for some reason he gave it to Ukrainian refugees because he's very worthy and he didn't need the money, even though he's got a child to provide for. But yeah, he didn't need the money. Then he decided to sell it because he suddenly decided that he doesn't like Ukrainian refugees anymore and they can get bent because he needed the money to buy a flat with Daisy. Then that fell through, and then he's been putting it in a trust fund.
Oh, nice summary. Because I'd forgotten what was going on with that.
Which I don't know what that is particularly, apart from an investment for your money when you're rich.
Yeah, he's trying to get the money out. But
he's like, I need it, but it will be a few weeks.
Yeah.
So we can't use it for that. Don't worry, we'll wait a few weeks and then we'll use it, Daniel. It'll be fine.
Yeah, and that'll
just stay in Turkey for 3 weeks if you're paying for it. Sucker.
It feels like that is how they're going to get out of this.
It doesn't. No, it felt to me like they were going, well, it can't be my trust fund because I've asked and they said no. You're going to have to think of another reason.
With me, it's more like we have to wait a few weeks, and that's when this filming block comes round again.
Well, David tells him, don't go around telling everybody that we need the money for a recovery surgery from liposuction because people are not going to like it. And Daisy's like, yep, that's true. Don't tell anybody. And Daisy tells Daniel to go home and rest. Closing time, Jenny's like, oh, what's happened? What's going on with you and Daniel? And she says, well, he knocked me back. And also, Bethany had liposuction. I shouldn't have told you that.
I can't remember how that came out.
No, she just blurted it out.
That was a nice little gossip
And
session.
I love Jenny as well, like shamelessly like, oh, I can't believe it. The conversation gets steered back to Daniel, and Daisy says, well, that's over now. He needs to concentrate on Bethany. I've got no way of getting a look in. Then we get to find out that Bethany's stable, but this pneumonia set her back in even more. She can't come back for a week, and even then it'll be under ICU conditions, which means it'll be very expensive. So
isn't it dramatic?
Isn't that expensive?
That was an interesting...
How much do you reckon it's going to be at the end? Like 50 grand?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter, does it?
It is absolutely
like you said,
meaningless how much this is. Yeah, that was an interesting scene because when David was on the phone to Sarah Lou, Lauren was asleep on the sofa, wasn't she?
Yeah.
Because she's staying there, and it showed her with her eyes open afterwards. So I don't know whether she's going to get involved or not.
No.
Or whether it was just to show that isn't Lauren troubled. But she's probably there thinking, it could be worse.
Well, maybe she's thinking, I've got £5,000.
So anyway, there we go. There's the Bethany story. I think they're doing, despite the criticism that we have still been able to point in its direction, I think that they're doing a surprisingly good job, really. And if it is reshoots, I hope that they're going to be able to get back on track with it soon, because I desperately want to see Gail's reaction to all this that's going on.
Yeah.
And that's about it, really.
Who's Gail going to blame?
Yeah,
I think it's Sarah's fault.
I don't know.
For being a bad influence.
I think that she might just say, Bethany, this is your own fault. I could see Gail being kind of level-headed about it and saying at the end of the day, she's the one who decided to take the procedure. You shouldn't have done that, Bethany.
I just don't blame anyone for getting this done. I think... I just... The pressure is horrible.
Mm.
And I know. Yeah, it's everyone's got their own agency and stuff, but no one's immune from being told continuously you're not good enough.
I'm kind
It's not like she can get an operation to be good at writing, is it?
No. But yeah, I think that once she's back, I really don't think that we're going to see a whole lot of here's what life with the stoma is. I mean, as we all know that soap characters don't go to the toilet. That's do we? So
like,
I mean,
I've never known...
seriously, what term difference is this going to make?
She's
Nothing.
Like, Mum, to be honest, I've never really known what my bum's for. I've never understood the point of it.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Craig with his OCD.
Exactly. It feels like it's a bit of a short-term shock. And of course, we know that Lucy Fallon is going to be going on some maternity leave at some point in the near future. So is this a story just to, in some way, facilitate that? I don't know how it could particularly.
No.
Because she's going to be coming back to Weatherfield. If it was, you're going to be stuck in Turkey for 6 months, just about the amount of time that it takes you. Yeah, maybe then. I don't know.
Well,
but
maybe I just decide to live in Turkey then.
Good stuff. Right, so Deering in the Headlights coming up next. So this starts with Dee Dee getting a call because this week was going to be her wedding week. This is the week that we thought that Joel was it was all going to come out, what an evil git that Joel was, and maybe that Paul would die. But it all, came a bit sooner than we thought. But unfortunately, Dee Dee has got still a few reminders of this week, including the fact that the wedding rings are available. She gets this phone call that says this, and she's like, I don't want anything to do with them, thank you very much. Meanwhile, we've got Roy going to see Lauren at the hospital, still living there. I'm so sick. Every time we cut to a scene in the hospital, I'm like, oh my gosh, is this kid not out of hospital?
No,
yet?
You can't say that.
Yes, I totally can say that. That is a perfectly valid thing to say. I know it is, but it just doesn't. It fills me with utter.
It does feel a bit like, I know that they can't just never do these stories, but at the same time, like when you're pitching a story, you're like, yeah, let's have Lauren have a premature baby, and the baby's got to be in hospital for 3 months. Okay, so what's she going to do in these 3 months? Or she just
be miserable.
She just cry over the baby and look at the baby and cry, and then the baby will have a scan, and then she'll cry about that. And it is I guess it's realistic and stuff, but
it doesn't make entertaining viewing. Monday she's telling Roy,
that's the thing.
Frankie's having a CT scan at the moment. He could have permanent brain damage.
What you're saying about the stoma, and we're not going to fight. You're not going to learn anything, and we're going to forget she even had it. This is the alternative to that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Constantly being
constant misery,
living in medical distress.
Yeah,
it's not Casualty. Maybe if it was Casualty, it'd win the bloody continuing drama award.
So over in Weatherfield, we're starting to see the beginning of Joel's plan to just act really charitable. And what's he doing here? Is it just a case that he's trying to make people think that he's a nice guy after all? I suppose that's what it is. And I think that going to Roy on Friday's episode was a good move, because Roy does see the good in people a little bit too easily.
I hate to say this, but considering some of the things I've seen, and I don't think this is specifically a UK thing, mostly like in America I've seen this, but it has been in England as well. People go in, this man did ruin this woman's life, / raped her, / murdered her, but he's such a good guy, and it might affect his future if he gets punished in any way for it. So we shouldn't really. I mean, look, he donated the money to a women's crisis charity.
Yeah, that's what he's saying he's doing, isn't
I know
it?
This all seems very cynical but kind of fruitless, but I don't think it would be in real life. I think he'd be able to pull the wool over everyone's eyes and go, I'm a solicitor, I can do good for the world. Don't put me in prison. It will make me sad. I'm upper middle class. I shouldn't have to hang around with chavs.
Yeah.
That's what seems to happen.
I can't remember at the moment how much they know about what Joel did.
Especially also,
is she still saying that
it will affect my mental health. I don't want to go to prison. It will make me depressed.
Has she said that Joel smashed her over the head with a
I
chair
don't think
leg
she
5
has.
times?
I don't
I've
think
got a
anyone
feeling that
cares
she
anymore.
hasn't said that.
No one's going to believe it because she should have said it ages ago.
I don't know. The story's dragged on for too long. I forgot.
He's getting away with anything.
Yeah, but yeah, this, like I said, this is him starting to show what a good Samaritan he is. So that
But he's just a manipulator, isn't he?
Yeah, totally is. And Ed and Ronnie wade in to the ring of this storyline this week, don't they? And they're roughing him up in the precinct later on. He's there, probably just gone for a peaceful ice cream at Sweet Enough.
Well, he was going to give his rings to the...
Oh, to the cash for gold, the gold converter thing. Yes, but they rush up to him. Ronnie does, and that was quite a nice little action scene, wasn't it? Whacking him against the wall in Scally's alley, and he's like, "Stay away from my daughter," says Ronnie. Well, says Ed. I mean,
Ronnie's secretly recording him.
Oh yeah, I forgot that bit.
He thinks
I forgot that bit.
Ed's trying to goad him into confessing.
Yeah,
and Ronnie's recording him, not really thinking
in the
about
most unsubtle way.
The optics of like a black guy attacking a white guy in the middle of a precinct and shouting at him, and Joel completely plays up to this. He's like, "Oh no!
Oh yes, he did, didn't he? Help me!
Oh, look at these two black men attacking me in the precinct. Oh, this will be what it's like in prison. I can't cope."
So he's kind of one there, has Joel.
Well, yeah.
And the Bailey boys have to back off a little bit. So Roy, meanwhile, is telling Lauren all about these train parts. Did he have a train fare that he had to go to on Monday or something? And she's doing her best at listening to these very dull stories. But eventually a doctor comes and says, well, the bleed hasn't worsened, the bleed on Frankie's brain. Signs are looking positive. Your kid's not going to die.
The doctor comes in and says, good news and bad news. The bleed on Frankie's brain has stopped, but I've got one listening to this absolute nonsense that you're spouting about train parts.
Yeah. And so Roy goes off to the fair then.
But he does bring back a present, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. He brings back a little Hornby train for Frankie.
In fact, don't let him touch it.
It was kind of sweet, I suppose.
Don't let him take it out of the packet.
Yeah. Mint in box, please, Lauren, when you give this to Frankie when he's old enough. So that's what's gone on there, and then meanwhile we got Dee Dee finding out what Ed and Ronnie been up to and saying basically stop it. There were witnesses there, you idiots. My whole case could fall apart now. And Ed's like, I'm going to make it up. It's going to be fine. Don't worry about it. So Wednesday rolls in and Debbie's having a quiet go at Ronnie for roughing up Joel as well. And he's like, I'll do it again. I was just pleased to get a scene, actually, Debbie.
I do like the way
Please support me in my attempts to have a scene.
Yeah. I like the way that they were both like, well, whoops, I don't care.
Yeah. The hospital. Lauren's talking to Dee Dee about tracking Joel. The tracker has been quite an interesting development. Well, it's been about a month or so now, at least, that they've had this. But I'm always forgetting that they've got it. And when Dee Dee or Lauren whip out their phone to see where he's at, I'm like, oh yeah. And even in today's episode, he hasn't found out about the tracker.
I don't know,
or has he?
Because I love my villains to be like ridiculously omnipotent. I kind of imagine that he does know, but there's no way that he does know.
But by Friday, he's doing stuff without being tracked because Dee Dee's trying to find him and he's not appearing. So maybe he has.
Lauren's talking to Dee Dee and saying she's tracking him. And he went to a field. He went to an industrial park.
Yeah, what on earth is going on there? He's plotting something, and I'm fighting the urge to not be interested in this.
You are?
I'm like... Why? In my head, I'm going, no, I'm over Joel. This story is not interesting to me. But then little bits are being dripped in like this, and I'm going, oh...
I love it.
Oh, he's stalking around a field, is he? That's kind of... No. My stance is I don't enjoy this story.
I'm back to loving it again. Last week I was like, blah.
You were, I remember. Last week you were a bit... Again, didn't care less about it. Yeah. And then he's also been a bit generous and sending money left, right and centre. Dee Dee has received... No, is it Dee Dee or is it Lauren? Lauren's received £5,000 this morning from him. And then later on in the episode, we found that Emily's got it as well.
And I was like, oh, it's the mums. They've got £5,000 each for the children.
Yeah, he's just trying to paint a picture of himself as a really... sensitive, caring dad who wants what's best for his kid.
That's what he is he's doing it in a manipulative way.
Yeah.
But he would say, "Oh no, I'm just trying to atone.
Seemingly,
I'm trying to take responsibility."
Seemingly at the end of the week, so that he can. I literally no. I'll tell you what, we'll get there when we get there. We'll get there when we get there. So Dee Dee's with Ronnie later, and she's very much on edge and saying, "Joel's up to something, but what is it?"
Yeah, because Dee Dee's saying, him giving you £5,000. This is bad for him
sus.
because it's going to make him look like he's trying to influence a witness in a trial against him, right? Now, obviously, Joel knows that is something that could happen. So there's more to the plan than this. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, it's got to be. He wouldn't make such a rookie error.
No.
As to you don't bribe.
This is why I love villains in fiction, because they're always a few steps ahead of everybody else, and they've always got some plan that you have to try to uncover.
Yeah, but there wasn't a whole lot about this on Wednesday. We find out that the case against Lauren for attacking Joel the other week has been dropped.
And everyone's like,
I forgot that. Is that was just such an example of a cliffhanger for cliffhanger's sake. It's ridiculous. And that's about it. There's another scene in the hospital. That's where we basically find out that Emily's received £5,000 as well. So, Friday, Dee Dee's telling Roy that Lauren can't face going to court today because the day has come for Joel's hearing for all the nefarious deeds that he's been getting up to. It was the Deering hearing, wasn't it? I didn't even think of that.
You should have written it down.
So Dee Dee's looking very much on edge. She thinks that there's something going wrong, but also today was supposed to be the day that they were supposed to be getting spliced. So she's understandably a bit like, oh, what could have been about this whole thing? But she's also very glad that she's managed to find out what a rotter he is before actually taking him down the aisle.
There's a lot of tragic coincidental dates this week, we find out, isn't there? The Deering hearings on the wedding day. You've got
the funeral.
Billy,
yeah, on the same day. Yeah. Anyway, this is. They did a little bit more experimental sound editing in today's episode, didn't they? This was the scene where Dee Dee was narrating, it's supposed to be my wedding day, but that's over the top of Joel getting up to something suspicious in his flat, and I don't think there are any clues there particularly, but he's having a good sneak around and looking suspicious. So court arrives, Bailey's there, Swains are there. Feeling quite hopeful, but Josh doesn't turn up. He's scarpered. Josh wasn't even invited. He's in prison. He's done for. He's done a runner. He's absconded. So they're going to do a bench warrant. And if, like us, you didn't know what a bench warrant is, it's just another word for an arrest warrant.
Shamefully Americanized.
Wanted, dead or alive, Joel Deering.
But I'm going to say I'm fine with. I know that there's lots of people who are in the legal system don't like this. The fact that all of our legal stuff is so, our expectations are so Americanized.
Where's the gavel,
etc., etc. I think it's kind of nice and quaint that we have no idea about some of these things, because it means we haven't been to prison and court and law stuff.
But if you believe Coronation Street, everyone's been at some point in their lives, or even some point in the past 12 months, to be honest. But yeah, exactly.
Well, we probably should know a bit more about it.
So anyway, nothing can happen there. There's this arrest
He's
warrant
going to
out
get
for
arrested.
Joel, and so they all go back to the street. And this is where Dee Dee gets her tracker out and realises that there's no signal on Joel.
Do you know what she should have got? Instead of getting this tracker thing, she should have got something off Alien, where when you turn it goes beep 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 beep, because she would have known he was right there.
He was right. It was about 10 metres away.
So this is what makes me think he's done something to this, because he didn't not bring his phone. He didn't bring his phone, right? So that's why she can't.
Well, it doesn't matter whether he's brought his phone, because if his phone is sitting at home, it should still be on there. So all I can imagine is that he's destroyed his phone or found that the tracker app is on there.
He's either got another phone or he's put it in airplane mode or something while he's.
I mean, would seem like the very sensible thing to do if you're
if you know you're
trying to be a bit. Well, no, I was going to say if you're just trying to be a bit sneaky, like he is.
Well, you would definitely, because they can track where you've been.
Yeah.
If you're doing a crime.
Yeah. So is that? Well, maybe it is just that. Maybe he's saying I don't want my GPS position to be used in court, and that's actually quite a clever thing to do, to put yourself on airplane mode.
Or aeroplane mode.
Aeroplane mode, as we call it in this country, indeed. But anyway, yeah, he's having a bit of a loiter in Villains Alley. But he goes to see Roy later, doesn't he? There was
Well, there's
another...
also a bit where Lauren's like, "Oh, Joel's absconded. That means he's going to come after me." And so Swain says to Max, "Can you look after her tonight?"
Yes, this is the scene where Lauren swipes some... I said mace at first, but I don't know what it is that police officers have to spray in their victims' faces these days.
They're not called victims, they're called perps.
Yeah, she's got a bit of perp spray.
Yes.
Do you think when you press it down, it goes, perp?
Oh, Bethany will never be able to do that again.
Bethany will not be able to perp again, no, that's true. Or does that just show that our Uranus... I almost said Uranus then, and it just...
Close.
Freudian slip. Yeah, our awareness of can you fart when you have a
We did
stoma.
look this up, didn't we?
We did. Well, yeah.
I can't remember what it said.
That person who is close to us that has got one has explained to me, and I can't remember what he said either. But don't come to this podcast if you want to know if you can fart with a colostomy bag. You're just going to go home disappointed. And get your minds out of the gutter. It's a sensitive issue. Anyway, she's got this spray, and nothing happens with this for the rest of the episode.
Again, just to point out, for people in a different country, we are not allowed to carry any kind of defensive weapons or sprays or anything. I think that the only thing you're allowed is those little knuckle things that you can put on your keychain, but I'm not even sure if that is really technically a good idea.
I thought that it was a little bit too contrived.
Yeah, you did, because you were like, why does she know it's in there?
Yeah, one, that Lisa left her bag on the table. I thought
it was kind of hilarious that she's got a bag that's like almost exactly the size of the spray, because that spray was massive and that was a very small bag. She picks it up, she's not going to notice that the only thing that was inside it is now not there.
No, she's not. I don't buy it. No. The fact that the bag was there... that she happened to leave Lauren alone in a room with it. That Lauren, what did she expect to find? Maybe she just wanted what else do women keep in their bags? Maybe she just needed a little mirror or a tampon or a bit of lippy or something because she's been living at the hospital and she's like, oh, I'll take this pepper spray, that could come in useful.
If I can't have liposuction, I'll have a bit of lippy instead.
I just think that Swain would probably have realised at least by the end of the episode that it's gone, but never mind. Back to the street, and we got drunk Joel walking into the cafe, or so we think.
What has he got? A bottle of whiskey, bottle of rum?
A bottle of something.
It was some kind of dark spirit.
Luckily for him, the cafe is empty, so it's just him and Roy. He shuts the door. Roy's backed into a corner. I'm thinking, is this going to be another hostage situation?
I know, how many times can Roy really be menaced?
Well, if it's not Roy, it's Evelyn, and Evelyn's not been in it for ages, it feels like at the moment, so he's the go-to.
Well, she'll be off, won't she, now? She's getting married, she'll be off having babies.
Oh, yeah. Just imagine. Anyway, Roy tries to call the police, but he grabs the phone, smashes it down. That's an antique. That's a proper Corrie legendary prop right there, Joel.
When Joel's going, sorry, Roy, I'll pay for, how much is it? I'll pay for, I'm like, you don't even understand how priceless that is.
I didn't really like his drunk acting.
I thought it was great.
But I did appreciate after he'd broken the phone, he tries to pick the back of it up and put it on the top of the handset and it just drops onto the floor. That was great. I would have quite liked it when Swain came to the cafe later if she tried to make a phone call on it and then picked it up and it just fell apart in her hands. But anyway, she had a mobile phone, clearly not kept in her bag. Otherwise, she would have realised that the perp spray had gone. But never mind. So yeah, he's there being very kind of up close and personal with Roy. And he starts saying about how guilty he was, doesn't he? He's trying to pull on the old heartstrings of Roy here, which doesn't take much of a pluck, to be honest. I do think that we are going to get into a situation, it wouldn't surprise me, where everyone's against Joel and Roy says, no, I don't, he's not going to give him a character reference, but I can see Roy trying to defend Joel or saying he's feeling regret for what he's done.
Yeah, like he didn't need to come and tell me that he was sorry. Yeah. But Roy just say, look, if you're feeling so bad about it, why don't you just confess so that everyone doesn't have to go through the horror of the trial?
Yeah, this is when he breaks the phone, I think, isn't it?
And he's like, no.
Yeah, he says, I'm really sorry, all the troubles are caused, you've been in jail because of me. And he's getting really right up in Roy's face here, but then Carla comes a knocking at the door, very helpful, and Joel exits
I wasn't expecting
the cafe.
this. He comes out and like right at the camera, doesn't he? We're seeing him coming towards us menacingly.
You see from his point of view first, but I think it is looking down at Carla, and then you see him coming towards her. And I did wonder what was going to happen there, but clearly nothing, because that would ruin his plan to make himself look like a remorseful citizen. So he kind of swaggers off down the road, but then when he gets to Villain's Alley, he's like, la la la. He fooled me. He fooled me. I thought he was properly drunk, but he was just trying to make out that everything that's been happening to him, all the criticism and insults that are being levied at him, are driving him to drink, and then at the end of the episode, whatever it is that he's threatening to do there. So anyway, that we get, what else is happening here? Dee Dee finds out about what's happened to Roy, says, oh, isn't it terrible? All the goodies gather in the cafe, basically, for a what do we do now kind of chat. Then we get, and I think this is included in this story, that great little scene where Max and Lauren think that there's something in the garden. I loved that.
It was really creepy. I was like...
It was proper creepy.
It's nearly October, which everyone knows is the month of Halloween. And I'm so excited. I cannot wait to get really into spooky things. And watching those two just standing there like going, oh, what is that? Just made me really, really yearn for some kind of horror or spooky themed episode of Coronation Street. Because they could do it so easily.
I just was waiting for Martin Platt to jump out at that point, going, I got you. I'm on it, really. I do wonder whether there was... I don't know where Joel is at this point. And in that scene in the car, we don't know where his car is. But I'd like to think that there was somebody loitering around the back of the Platt's house, and there was somebody loitering at the back of the Rovers. And then also you got Joel, just because that's kind of fun to have all this sneakery.
What's all going on?
I think that, Max and Lauren just put it down to a swinging gate. And it could well be that that's all it was. But it's still keeping me guessing, and that's what I want.
Wow.
Over the weekend to be thinking, oh, what if?
Because Joel's in his car, isn't he?
And he's in the car, mate. He's doing his proper sob story to Dee Dee later.
He's
saying,
either
I'm
recording
really
a
sorry.
voice message, or he's leaving her a voicemail.
He's saying, everything, it's just all gone wrong. I never meant for this to happen. Oh, maybe there's still something that I can do to make you and everybody happy. And he's there kind of sobbing down the phone. He's also doing a lot of physical acting as well, like, biting his knuckle. And I was thinking, you do know that Dee Dee can't see this, but, whatever it takes for him to get into character, I thought he was a pretty good actor there, Joel. But I suppose if you're a lawyer in court, you've got to be able to put on some kind of a performance, don't you?
Yeah. Well, when you see voice actors, they sort of, clench their fists and...
So anyway, that's kind of it. And he's kind of doing that, but he's half smirking as well. And the final shot of the episode is the camera panning around. Oh, they did have more awful, awful sound effects, didn't they? What? Why?
They can't... They need to do something about the fanfare at the end. The Corrie fanfare that leads into the theme music. Iconic, love it, brilliant, Queen, fantastic, yes.
Queen?
Do what you want.
They got Queen recording the version.
Can we just get rid of it when you want to play other music?
No, don't play other music.
You can't have both, though. They keep saying, like, oh, it's fine, just like...
That was 100% unnecessary.
Get another ending
that ominous tone.
Get two. Commission a new one. Please, for the love of God. If you only do one thing, if you only listen to one thing we ever say...
Don't listen to her. I'm saying don't ever end episode with horrible music like that.
This is why they don't listen to any feedback.
Stupid sound effects.
Never listen to fan feedback because we don't know what we want.
I will agree that sometimes the rousing brass bands of the theme tune doesn't necessarily fit in with the tone of the episodes. But we do not need that.
The thing is,
hey everybody, he's a baddie. Not sure that yet. Well, how about this music? Now you know, eh? He's plotting something. It's as bad as getting the shaky cam out when you know that there's going to be a bit of a fight and a rumble between characters. Anyway,
nothing demonstrates more clearly how far it's strayed from the original purpose of the show than that ending theme being played over somebody standing over a corpse or like plotting something in a car with blood pouring off their face.
Yeah, because the camera pans round and he's got this big bloodied cheek, and it felt like it was real. I know he was faking drunkenness earlier to try and gain Roy's sympathy, but
yeah,
I don't think he painted a scar onto his face. That was a real cut there. So he's really turned to desperate measures.
Do you have any theories?
Well, I thought that what I thought would happen would be that he would say, "Oh, there's one thing that I can do to keep you happy," and then he'd drive into a tree. But he's not actually going to hurt himself, is he?
No, he's too
I wonder
much
whether
of a
he would get
narcissist.
out of the car
And make it look like he'd killed himself.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
I think
into a tree.
I think he's going to go missing
No,
now. I don't think we're going to see Joel on Monday. He's going to make out that he's topped himself or something.
You can't drive into a tree because they would notice you weren't dead in the car.
Although, why has he put the scars on his face?
Well, here you go. Right, so here's
so maybe he's going to show up.
Here's my two theories. Right, number one, he has actually been in an altercation somehow. We haven't quite got to that story yet. Was Kit involved? Is that why they mentioned Kit's not home yet? Was Kit delayed?
Maybe.
Is Kit actually in on it with him? Like we said, we wondered all those weeks ago when we said maybe they're all in cahoots. Has he, or is he involved in a different way where he's not in cahoots but they were working together and now they've decided to part ways with a fight? Has he punched him for some reason? Because the fact that he is missing makes me wonder that, and he can't be on official police business because everyone would know.
Yeah.
So there must be a reason why he hasn't told anybody that he's attacked Joel, and there's only a few reasons that could be. The other one is maybe it is fake, or he's done it to himself and he wants a witness and somebody's seen him with blood on his face, and that will help build into his story of, oh, he's killed himself, he's gone missing, he's died.
But a witness saw him.
He saw him with blood on his face, he was crying, he was saying, I'm going to end it all, put the pieces together how you want.
Is this feeling to you like we could be mere weeks away from the end of Joel?
Yeah.
Is there a showdown coming?
This is what they do on Corrie, and it's kind of annoying now because it's such... it's so predictable and a bit annoying that this is what happens to almost every villain. They do something dramatic, everyone thinks they're dead or they've run away, and then they come back.
Yeah,
like somebody watched
showdown.
Carrie when they were a kid and found it very influential, the final scene, and thought that needs to be in every single episode of Coronation series.
I'm trying to remember what I've seen on Callum Lil's Instagram.
I am going to say I do absolutely love it. I know it's cheesy and silly, but the only thing about it is it happens every time. If it only happens every other time, maybe it'd be more effective. But you can't keep doing this with villains where you have them and then they disappear and then they come back like, I wasn't dead at all.
Yeah, I mean, this is where we're at with Rowan as well at the moment, isn't he? I don't think he's had his final scenes, but he's for all intents and purposes away from the show at the moment. I think that maybe Laura, we might not see Joel again for a bit, but he's going to come back for his last hurrah at some point in weeks or months' time. But in a way, that's going to harken back a little bit too much to the Where's Lauren story. Are we going to have a Where's Joel story? I don't need another one of those at the moment.
Yeah, there's too egotistical, and I think also I don't feel like it's too much of a hidden secret. Coronation Street hasn't done too much to make us not think this, because it showed us him pretending to be drunk. If they hadn't had that bit where he was like, haha, it was a ruse, there'd be no reason to suspect anything except he is actually genuinely remorseful and who knows what he's going to do. But because they showed us him pretending to be drunk, you know that this is an act, and you know that there's only a few things you can really do. And it does make logical sense to for him to fake his death. And
he's not trying to blame anyone. He's not trying to make anyone think
I was murdered or anything.
No.
So if it's a really genius move, really. He just fakes his death and he runs away to another country.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody's got to take those dinghies back to France, haven't they?
I wouldn't go back to go over to Turkey though, Joel, just for a bit of treatment on that scar on your cheek. You might end up with
it would be expensive.
with a cheek stoma. I don't know.
Oh, what's that?
I don't ask.
Maybe put a tongue through your cheek. I've seen people do that though. They get the big holes, don't they?
Wasn't the original barman in is it in Family Guy?
Barman?
Yeah, in Family Guy, the original guy behind the bar, he had a big, massive bit of cheek missing. Am I remembering that wrong? I don't know.
They're probably too hard to draw.
Right, so Mason and the Carpenter,
This is really
Gemma.
insensitive. This reading.
No, it's fine. It's fine. We're just
emotionally drained by everything that's been happening in real life.
It's been a heavy week.
I
for us.
can't.
You don't want to know.
I can't elicit sympathy for fictional people at the moment.
We got our own problems.
Got my own problems.
We haven't got a stoma, but
no.
Okay, so this Stu and Mason's story, it's just going on, isn't it? It's
this just feels like the same thing over and over again, and I don't care about anybody in it, and I don't have any emotional attachment, and I'm
not going to say I don't care about everybody in it. I'm somewhat interested in Mason. I go back and forth about how much I like him. Gary and Maria, I bear no ill will against.
I wish them well.
Exactly that. But yeah, it just seems to be going round and round and round of Mason's kind of lurking around saying, hey, I've changed. And Sean going, oh my gosh, it's Mason. He's back in the street. Well, stay away from my son. And Gary looking there intimidating, saying, yeah, don't you come near my Liam. And Stu saying, yeah, but he's changed, like, man, he's served his time. He's going to stay working with me at speed dial now, so just bug off. You know, and it's just that, rinse and repeat.
Well, you've just explained the whole plot.
That's the story. And it's even like, we saw that scene a few months ago of Mason bedding down in the Ginnel because, he's homeless, because he's having a rough time with his brothers. That literally happened again today, didn't it? He's come into work with a black eye, and he said, it's not my brother's. And then at the end of the episode, he's got his sleeping bag in speed dial.
Is there any point in going over it?
Well, I mean, there probably was a little bit more, but let's just remind ourselves briefly about what happened in case we've missed any.
Mason was in trouble because Betsy planted that purse.
Yeah.
And
with the
help of it all comes out, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And people didn't know this, but now it's revealed on Monday. So Sean calls Swain. She tells her. She can't believe it. She takes her down the station. Sean tells Stu. Stu can't believe it. And he was like, oh, I'm fairly imprisoned, and I was treating Mason the same way I was treated. So Swain's like trying to get Betsy under control, but it's not really working.
Well, yeah, because she found out that Betsy has been responsible for
doing all kinds of stuff.
This poor innocent victim Mason spending a month or so behind bars.
But anyway, Mason gets released. He menaces everybody in Victoria Gardens.
Well, he's not been told not to go there.
They're all there chatting, and then it looks like Mason just appears from a bush.
It did. Did anybody else
think that?
Because
where he comes from, there was not an entrance.
No, because it's Betsy and Dylan in Victoria Gardens, isn't it? They're having a bit of a sit on the bench. Liam comes over and then saying, should we be mates again or something?
Through the gate?
Through the gate, yeah. And then Mason is just there.
He comes out the side, out of a bush. He's
like,
like, do you mind? I'm trying to sleep in this bush.
It was like the Homer scene.
Yeah, it was.
He's trying to make it into a meme.
It was a Virgin merge.
Yeah.
So Gary then comes along and has a fight and pushes Mason, and I don't know if this is where he got his black eye from.
No, it wasn't. Because
it comes up later, doesn't it?
He doesn't have a black eye in this episode.
I know, but they come up
later. The black eye is clearly his brother's, because Stu's saying, hey, is that black eye your brother's, man? And he's like, no, not at all.
Stop
Definitely
not.
Now. But it clearly is.
Right.
And still, I've gone back. Why can't we meet? I really want to meet his brothers. I'm really curious about seeing what Mason's family life is.
Imagine if we meet his brothers and they both sound like Ashley Peacock. Hey, Mason, he's Arrival. We're going to beat him up. Because it's not very menacing, is it? And he's being menaced by
I don't know, because far be it from me to reference classic Coronation Street at the moment, but we are in the middle of the Mad Dog Maddox versus Ashley boxing storyline, and it is absolutely hilarious.
You can't call yourself Ashley boxing.
How Mad Dog Maddox has got a very silly voice, but he's still somewhat intimidating.
Anyway, Stu gets Mason back at speed dial and blah, blah, you're innocent, turn your life around. Sorry, I didn't believe you. Swain's like, Mason, can you get Ben? And he's like, no, I'm not going anywhere. Friday, there's another showdown. Mason's got
another
a black
quality
eye.
plot synopsis from Conversation Street.
Mason's got a black eye. Was an accident. They were trying to get a restraining order, but it won't work. So Gary decides to go to speed dial to just be an annoying arsehole. He ends up having, what did he have? Chicken karai, potato samosa, and an onion bhaji.
Yes.
Which was a weird order because where you're not having naan bread or rice.
No.
Anyway, maybe it comes with it. So
he just was there to
just
sit
to intimidate
and
and be a goon. If I was Jasmine or Stu, I would offer him a part-time job.
Has Gary got nothing better going on in his life? Has he got nothing to do other than sit in speed dial and stare at Mason?
He sits underneath the arches next to the bistro selling old brass lamps and sofas that are covered in mould.
I suppose this does make his life a bit more exciting then,
Yeah,
doesn't it?
so he's just trying to menace everybody. It doesn't really work. And he says, it wasn't my brother's, I promise. And then he comes back. He comes back to speed dial. Mason does in a sleeping bag because he's obviously been kicked out of his home.
Well, not necessarily. He could literally just be escaping for his brothers.
Fed up with him.
It's very... I still, I've got some sympathy for him, but I don't know whether I'm being played for a fool. And we shouldn't, because he is a nasty piece of work, but... I
just don't have any... There's no hook here for me. And I've said before, like, I try really hard, and I do think I'm empathetic, but there is something to be said for having a connection to a story makes it more interesting. And I just, like, I can't relate to being a parent of a kid, like, in this situation. I know, I just can't, it's just not an interesting story to me from any angle at all. Like, I've never been a naughty schoolboy. I've never been an ex-con who's trying to do right by a kid who I see myself in. I've never been a what's it called? A loan shark who's gone straight, who's now got a kid that's being menaced by a scruff.
Gary and Maria are really this storyline. They deserve better than this.
They're just very boring, aren't they? Yeah. Like, even if you, at the moment, and neither of them are boring people. Gary and Maria are both quite interesting, but really... And
with such a legacy on the show.
Yeah, they've had so many years of great stories, but these two, if you watch them now, if you were at a dinner party and you sat next to them, you'd be like, I'm not staying for pudding. He's talking to me about... She's talking to me about counselling and recycling glass, and he's talking to me about how much it costs to renovate a lamp.
I still think that Sean is coming across quite well in this. It's nice.
Sean's the only one I'm finding
This is his best dramatic story.
But also,
for a very
like,
long
all
time.
The kids, I think you've all just done this to yourselves. You're all just stupid idiots, and you all really, at the end of the day, I'm starting to think,
just bang your heads together and sort yourselves out.
Very few of you have not done anything wrong in this situation. Yeah. Like, I think Liam's the only one who I feel sorry for. The rest of them are all just idiots.
But yeah, it does come to something when the most interesting thing about a story was Sean's sewing machine jumper.
Oh, that made me...
That you pointed out.
Look at that, he's got sewing machines on his top. Love it.
Okay, so the pallbearers story about Paul's funeral.
I mean, we can summarise this as well.
We can.
They decide to have a compromise.
They decide to compromise. After all of last week's arguing and me getting very het up on the podcast about Bernie being vile, and we still, and I'm glad for this, did have people emailing us in or commenting on YouTube saying, no, Billy was in the wrong here. That is absolutely your prerogative to say that. I still don't think that he was. To me, with Bernie, it was more about the way that she was so disrespectfully dismissive about Billy's beliefs.
And
that was what got to me the most.
I just want to say one thing too about the funeral service, and I think I totally get what Bernie is saying about it's not to Paul, it's not how Paul was, etc., etc. But I think what some people miss, perhaps, and Bernie certainly has, is that there's comfort to be taken from tradition and routine and knowing what is expected and what will happen in a situation. And I think sometimes we can be super dismissive of history and cultural traditions and stuff, because we're all very progressive and we think so everything new is better and think things should change because you shouldn't just do everything just because it's the way it's always been done. And I totally respect that. But there's something really comforting about a funeral service where you know everything's peaceful and calm and you know exactly what to expect. And there's no surprises and there's no anxiety about, oh, it shouldn't be like this, it should be like that, you know. Everyone has the same, and it's kind of a bit of a leveler as well. Like, everybody has a similar service. And I think there's something very beautiful about that, and you might not find beauty in it yourself, but I do. And the fact, you know, that Bernie's kind of running herself ragged here, and it just, I don't think she's wrong, but it just kind of shows the kind of I don't want to say weakness, but I can't think of another word. Like, this is the problem with what she's doing, is that she's trying to tailor it to what Paula wanted without really knowing. But what she's doing is actually making herself a party. And even and like, there's no set way of doing it. She doesn't know how far to go, what to do, how many things do I need.
She's got the glow sticks and the whistles, hasn't she?
She's making a rave. That's fair enough, but she's also doing a memorial at the same time. It's just really, really super stressful, and it's something that you might not need to do when you're deep in the throes of grief. I think she's using it as a distraction technique because she doesn't want to think about the fact her son's dead.
Yeah,
I think this is the sort of thing that would make sense to do it a year from now.
Yeah. When
you've got more time and you're less upset and you're not using it as a screen to avoid thinking about your feelings. This is why a traditional service is kind of good, because you don't have to think about it. You just go, what hymns, bosh, bash, bosh. Someone does a reading, someone does a statement. Yes, it's personalised in that sense, but it's also already done for you, and it's very comforting to take.
Yeah, and I don't think that anybody would be able to convince Bernie that she's using this as a deflection technique.
No, I'm not begrudging her it at all. This is what she wants. I've said all along that they should both have their own separate thing. But one thing I do want to say, and I didn't know whether to bring this up before or what, but I do like, when did we ever see Paul do any of this?
Well, we said this last week on the podcast. But
he's like, oh, he's a raver. He loved raving and everything. Okay, Bernie, I get it, right? But when I was a kid, I loved pigs. I don't want a pig-themed funeral. I have grown out of it. I think maybe
what would that be? Instead of having you in a coffin, you'd come in a spit, just turning round over a fire.
Everyone has a hog roast at the end.
That's your cremation.
And instead of having, when you have the Holy Communion, you just have a bit of pork, applesauce and a bread roll.
So insane. The Church of England doesn't allow this. So they can't have a massive picture of Paul on the pulpit. They're not going to let that happen, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I didn't like that. You know, there are bits as well, I agree with Bernie, like, you can't have, it's silly to me that you can't have a picture of Paul in a certain spot. I understand why.
No, I think it is absolutely fine. If that's the tradition,
no, but
that's the tradition. But what I didn't really appreciate is
okay.
the fallout, because you can have a picture of him on the coffin, and surely that's okay. And the way that Billy was saying is, we can't have even a picture of Paul in the church at all, is what it kind of came across like, which obviously isn't
neither
true.
of them are really listening to each other. And really, what they're both saying is, I want to say goodbye to Paul in a way that brings me comfort. They're both trying to say, I want to do what Paul would have wanted, but they can't know that because he never told them.
No, just what Kari wanted.
And like I've said before, funerals are for the living, so really it's okay to do what you want to do. If you want to go and like scatter, people scatter ashes all over the place and have their own private ceremonies or have a little think. If you want to go and get drunk in a pub or eat a pork sandwich. Well, no,
you're back on the pork again, aren't you?
Go and have a hog roast. When I die, I have a hog roast in my honour, whatever. But don't pretend it's because that's what the person who died wanted. They want to be alive.
So yeah, Monday's episode was basically Bernie running herself ragged, trying to put all the preparations together for this. And even though Gemma is on the side of, let's have a more upbeat kind of ceremony of his life, even she's thinking this is a bit too soon. Yeah, I've really appreciated how they're still putting Dolly Rose, not putting her in makeup she's looking
so
natural
defeated.
and exactly.
She looks like a little odd sock.
She is still in very much in odd sock mode.
A little lost girl, doesn't she? She just looks devastated all the time. I love her. Dolly Rose Campbell's doing such a great job.
Brilliant.
She just looks so dejected, and it's such a contrast to how Gemma normally is.
I'm really kind of looking forward because her funeral is next week. It's on your birthday, isn't it?
I don't think Gemma's funeral's next week.
Oh, sorry, Paul's funeral is next week on your birthday.
I'm not watching it.
So I hope that
on my birthday, everybody. I'm not watching it.
You're not.
No, I'm not watching it on my birthday.
Okay, we'll watch it on the Thursday.
Give me a break.
So I hope that they've written a really, really good speech for her. I just love it, and I know that she'd be able to do brilliantly.
I really liked it when Billy was going, "Oh no, I've just remembered. It's the wedding anniversary. It's the same day as the funeral." I'm like, "Yeah, it's my birthday, Billy. I can't believe you've forgotten this, you dick."
I don't know whether Gemma will say anything at the church or whether it's just that's going to be about Billy. But if that's about Billy and the Friday rave up is about Bernie, poor old Gemma is and Summer. She's kind of falling by the wayside a bit. You remember last week we had that scene of her breaking down on the sofa.
Yeah.
And she's, nobody's really thinking about her at the moment.
No, I don't care about her.
Bang all their heads together again. That's seemingly my answer to everything at the moment.
I have really enjoyed as well the lifting of the financial distress. Because apparently when your brother dies, you suddenly don't worry about money anymore. You just buy a bunch of whistles and bells and glitter and fabric.
She got them on the cheap off of Big Garth. Is Big Garth still around or is he in prison at the moment? I can't remember.
Well, maybe his lockup's empty or is open while he's in prison and they just raided it.
So Wednesday, we see these flyers for Paul's funeral, these lovely yellow flyers advertising it for the 4th of October.
Again, yellow. I don't recall him ever talking about yellow, wearing yellow, having yellow anything.
No.
I think this is just because because when you're a mum, you know everything about your kid, and when you're little, you're full of what's your favourite animal, what's your favourite thing to do, what's your favourite colour, what's your favourite everything. Everything's what's your favourite this or that, right? But when you're an adult, you don't have one favourite thing of anything. So I think Bernie's conception of Paul is very rooted in these remnants of his childhood.
Well, she's got the little memory box, hasn't she? Or was that just kit stuff?
That was
I
just
don't know.
She didn't care about.
But I would believe that she, if we haven't seen it already, I don't remember, that she has got bits and pieces of his childhood squirreled away somewhere.
And the other thing too is that there was a big gap between when she was raising them as children. Paul left when he was a teenager, and then he got into troubles and stuff. And as from what we really understand, I don't know that they were that close until Bernie came into the show a few years ago.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So she's got a massive gap in her knowledge about what it is that Paul actually likes.
Well, that just makes her feel even more guilty. She's already feeling guilty about thinking that she's the one that caused the MND, which clearly isn't true.
And I'm not trying... I don't know if... this is all just theorising and she's not a real person or anything, but maybe that's why she's focusing so much on these very, concrete things. Like, he liked yellow, he liked raves, we're going to do a yellow rave. End of question.
I think she's just saying, well, I was a terrible mum to him, and looking back, I could have been much better. I just want to do something right for him, and I think this is right. And if anyone tries to question me on it, I've made the decision, and I'm sticking to it.
But apart from all of that, it's her, like you said, it's her prerogative. She wants to have a rave in honour of her son. Absolutely, she should do it, and everyone should help her.
I do wonder whether it is actually going to happen though, because they were talking on Wednesday about, does the council, have they given permission to close down Victoria Street? And she's saying, it's going to be okay. I'd kind of like it to happen. Yes, I definitely want to see the church service, but I think that having this rave up on Friday could be quite uplifting. So I hope it all goes well.
If you have to get permission off the police to have a rave, it's not a real rave.
Very true.
That's what I'm going to say. Maybe that's what she said. I can't remember.
We've got that's kind of.
They're all just getting Chesney and I think Gemma are kind of like going, this is all a bit much, isn't it? Yeah. Like, we're all getting a bit. You're going to get tuckered out.
Yeah, Chesney says, don't work yourself too hard. Friday is more about Billy being a bit miserable about the fact that the funeral has been organised for the wedding anniversary on the 2nd of October. And also, he's still not convinced that this rave is right. He says it's not really my thing. Which is interesting because we were led to believe that Billy was a bit of a party animal back in his
Yeah, I
early
don't
days.
understand this.
But he's
suddenly...
clearly not now, is he? But
yeah.
I
do think when you do, like, look,
it's an uneasy
it's a cliche,
compromise.
But when you get older,
this?
you don't like loud noise and fuss after a certain time of night. I don't blame him. I'd rather have a cup of tea.
Yeah, so he just goes and has a bit of a drunken drink with Todd.
It's not a real rave unless everyone's off their head on some kind of substance. And I don't think Billy's into that anymore. I know he was super into it at one point.
Yeah, well, we just need to get Dean on the case. He'll be able to sort them out with some, can't he?
I just wonder
couple of
whether
benzos
Bernie's
or whatever.
like, got the whistles, got the gear, let's go, baby.
Speaking of illicit
They've
substances...
been very, I'm just saying, they're being very, very, like, what's the word? PC about this rave that they're organising. I don't even think half the memories Bernie's got is a result of not being off her head on something.
Yeah, so as I was saying, illicit substances. Hopefully they get Stokes hope to bring the vapes along just to add a little bit of...
Add a bit of atmosphere with all the smoke. She can just computer generate the smoke in, like...
This was a kind of mini side story for the week, wasn't it? It included Fizz's 40th birthday, which we've kind of already covered. But they're called away from the special bistro birthday tea.
3 courses.
The women of Weatherfield, their hearts must just sink when their partner says, "Hey, guess what? I've pulled out all the stops for your bistro tea again." Oh my gosh, that place.
I know, and also like here's my another controversial comment here. I would never pay anybody to give me for a pie on a menu in a restaurant. Why would I want a pie? You make that at home. Like, cottage pie should not ever be on a menu.
No, they can do it nicely.
I can do it much more nicely than they can. I'm not paying anybody to make me a pie.
Okay, fine.
My days of buying a pie in a restaurant are over. What's the difference between a pie you get in a restaurant and a pie you get from the supermarket? There's literally no difference.
I'm not a cook. Anyway, Hope's been suspended from school because she's been caught with a load of vapes and she doesn't really seem to care about it. And she spends the rest of Wednesday and Friday's episode just kind of ducking and diving and vaping whenever she gets the opportunity, really. What?
Yeah.
She steals some vapes from the corner shop
on
Friday.
They find out, don't they?
Yeah, that's what I said.
Well, they find out and then Cassie's like, I knew all along.
No, I know. Hope says Cassie knew.
She knew. And then Cassie's like, well, I don't understand why, Tyrone and Fizz, you didn't know that there was vaping going on. What do you think it smelled like marshmallows for? Or whatever
I thought it was watermelon.
Watermelon or something. I just thought, if Hope wanted to hide, and this is a great tip for all northern teenagers who want to hide their vaping, get a gravy-scented one.
Because the whole of the north smells like gravy.
Tyrone wouldn't know, would he? He'd come back and go, I think I've burped that pie out again.
They should do like a special northern range, shouldn't they?
Well, they could do a southern range as well, couldn't they? For all the foods that are unique.
What else would a northern vape range smell like? There'd be like a Manchester tart one with hints of coconut.
Oh, and custard.
Yeah.
Oh,
spotted dick flavoured vape.
Hot pot.
Oh yeah, of course.
Lovely
the
hot,
Lancashire
hot
lovely
pot.
lammy vape. Delicious. That's about it of our knowledge for northern food.
What's the one?
Yorkshire pudding. Did I say that one already?
That'd be lovely. Maybe that'd get me into vaping.
The Yorkshire pudding flavoured vape.
Can you just imagine
That's how they get you.
If
targeted advertising.
If Willy Wonka had been written now, maybe that would have been what they had instead of the gobstopper that made a meal. What? Oh, this delicious vape replaces an entire meal. When you take
Beauregard puffing away.
When you take a drag, it tastes like tomato soups going down your throat. Ooh, it's revolutionary.
Somebody needs to make a parody of that. Anyway, Stapes, as I say, she steals some vapes from the corner shop when Ardy's back's turned on Friday, and he hunts her down to where else could she be but Victoria Gardens, and he acts a bit of a hard man who tries to by saying, "You only get one chance of me, don't you steal vapes again?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, sir," but she secretly still got some in her bag.
Well, he says you've got to be 18 to buy a vape, but you don't have to be any age to steal them.
I did notice, I can't remember when it was, fairly recently, the the massively obvious box of vapes
I
that had
know,
suddenly just
I
appeared
saw
on the
that.
counter.
So what's that? Someone's got a problem with vaping underage. We better get the props out.
Yeah, it did. I you know, I don't frequent that many corner shops, but do they really have them so flagrantly on display? I thought they at least have the decency to put them behind the counter and the wall.
They don't.
Do they not? Yeah, I've shared my rage about the advertising of rapes vapes.
I don't think they do that anymore.
They don't. The advertising of vapes, they're clearly marketed to children. It's absolutely terrible. It is shameful that this should still be allowed to carry on. But I won't say a piece on that again. But I've to have them just there on the counter, I don't know. It didn't feel like. But
no,
I don't go to too many corner shops. Anyway, so Hope's managed to get away with that because Ardy said, "Look, I won't tell your parents, but just don't do it again." And the end of the episode is, well, Joel's not the only one plotting, is he? Hope is also trying to butter Fizz up by buying her some lovely late birthday chockies, and she's also saying to Tyrone, "Oh, maybe you should get Fizz something nice on Monday." I don't get what she's up to here.
I think she's gonna be like, "Oh, Dad, I'll order it for you with your card." And if it comes up with like Manchester Smoke Shop, it's just candles that I've ordered for her.
Maybe it's the same place that Joel got his
secret
pregnancy pills from. Yeah. Anyway, that's what happened in Coronation Street.
Can I just say one thing? Yes. I thought, like, number one, doesn't Hope have magnificent hair?
I guess
she does. She has gorgeous hair. Number two, I felt really sorry for her because nicotine is so addictive. It's like one of like the hardest substances to overcome your addiction to, and this girl's completely unprepared for the effect that this is having on her. And I know that loads of people started smoking when they were teenagers, and this is not a really uncommon thing.
And vaping at her age is sadly rampant.
But you know what I mean? I'm just saying, like, when you're a teenager, like I've never smoked in my life, and I didn't really know anyone who did. No, I didn't know anyone who did when we were kids. But when you're a teenager, you've got to like be crafty about it. You've got to sneak about and, you know, go and hide and do it with your friends and whatever. When you're vaping, if you're addicted to vaping as a child, you can do it so easily anywhere. It must be so difficult to kick it when you don't even... And the way it's treated as well, vaping is treated as like really harmless. It's better for you than smoking. That kind of in your head turns into, it's not bad for you at all. In fact, it probably is good for you, maybe. I don't know. It helps you concentrate. Gives you a bit of buzz. It's just the same as caffeine. What's so bad about it? So being addicted to nicotine as a child and having all these vapes everywhere... I don't know how you'd cope. How would you ever overcome that when you don't really have any motivation to?
That is the crux of the problem.
Yeah, it is, and it's so delicious, and it tastes like gravy.
I can't. The only thing I don't think that this storyline is especially gripping for me at the moment. I love the Stape Dobbs household. Well, they're all Dobbs now, aren't they? But there's just something about this that's not particularly making me salivate to find the next scene in it.
Where is it going as well? Is it gonna?
It's just going to be... Yeah.
Is she going to get some kind of horrible lung issue? Is it going to be an issue? So she's going to be in... Not. Well, I mean, it's not without the realm of possibility, because there was a kid that ended up in hospital because she was vaping constantly and she had some kind of lung damage.
Yeah, better not. I just... Maybe the inclusion of Evelyn would help. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not.
I just can't blame people for being addicted to an addictive substance that's sold by companies that know it's addictive and do everything they can to make you addicted to it.
So, on that cheery note, how are we going to be rating this week's Coronation Street?
Right, interesting question. Turkey. Because there were some really good bits. I think really the weakest point for me this week was the Mason stuff.
Oh yeah, for sure. That was definitely the lowest of the storylines. I thought that the Billy and Paul Bernie storyline is plodding along. It wasn't, it didn't get me angry like it did last week, but equally there wasn't anything particularly exciting or engaging there. There was just a few nice character bits, really.
Yeah.
The Joel and the Bethany storyline certainly had the lion's share of scenes and drama and twists. And if fair play to it, it has got me a little bit more invested in the Joel storyline, ever so slightly, and the Bethany storyline. I was just very pleasantly surprised at how much I've been enjoying it.
But why would she want liposuction?
I still think I'm going to go...
I can't understand.
I still think that I'm going to go for $3,500 a day every day that Bethany's in here out of 5.
Oh, it's $2,000.
Didn't go up. No, it's inflation.
Oh, yeah, okay. I'm thinking if I could give it 3.75, I might.
You can't.
But I'll have to give it 3.5. Dank B-tails.
Oh yeah, that was meticulously planned drunken acting by Joel. He's like, which words can I say backwards just to make it seem like I'm off my face? Character of the week.
I'm going to petition for Soap Awards to include a category for best drunk acting because I really think we need to encourage this more often.
No,
hilarious, love it.
I know it's just varied, isn't it? Everyone's got their own little.
But
doing it.
I thought it was.
I get Sally Ann Matthews an award.
Anytime there's
for it, of course.
drunk acting on Coronation Street, I'm gonna love it.
Right, character of the week. I think I'm gonna say, Bethany.
She was asleep most of it.
No, she was asleep for a bit of it.
And then she went.
As the poster child for this surprise hit of a story for me, I'm gonna give it for Bethany. What about you?
I'm going to give it to Sarah for being literally the world's worst mother. Actually,
an entertaining way.
I'm going to say... Oh. No, I'm going to say she's not the world's worst mother because there are some like hamsters that eat their own babies and stuff like that. She's not quite that bad.
The world's worst human mother.
Well, also human mothers sometimes eat their babies too. It's very tragic. God. But if you draw a line there, she's just the other side of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, as I say, in an entertaining fashion.
In a really she's like the messiest character. I think she's genuinely the messiest.
I'm not watching Sarah and going, oh, Sarah. I'm going.
No, that's Sarah. That's what she does. Sarah, that's what she is. That's who she is.
Silly cow. Right.
But she's our silly cow, isn't she?
Oh, I have.
And we've watched her grow from a baby.
Great affection for Sarah Louise. I do not hate Sarah.
She does her best, doesn't she?
She's great. She's a cracking character. Tina O'Brien is absolutely outstanding.
You can't knock her for what she's achieved in her life. Being a silly cow, she's actually done really, really well.
This is a perfect story for her. Tina O'Brien is a really, really good actress.
She's great.
And this has just given her another opportunity to stretch her chops.
Pause dramatically before giving her daughter bad news. For goodness sake, Sarah.
Okie dokie. That's it for Sweet Talk.